everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. In today's video, we're going to be doing the mid-year freakout tag. I've seen a few people do it now, and I did the end of year book tag and the beginning of the year book tag, so I thought it would be fun to do a mid-year tag. If I sound a bit nasally, I am coming down with a cold, but that wasn't going to stop me from filming today. I'm afraid I might get worse. It's better to film this now because it's just the beginning of my sickness, and I definitely want to get this out as soon as possible because the year is flying by. Without further ado, I got these questions from, I cannot remember her name right now. I'll pop her YouTube up here, but then I also saw another creator do it. What was her name? Riley Marie. So I got the idea from these two creators. As far as I know, Riley added in a couple of her own questions, and myself, I've taken out a couple of questions that I don't feel are relevant to my reading taste and what I like to do as a reader. Let me move this. The one side of my face is literally cast in shadows. I hope you don't mind, but I'm just sitting on the floor. I think I have a fever because I'm really hot and sweaty. I'm going to try and get through this as quickly as possible. Let me just get into my fable. My reading goal for this year was 100 books, and currently, I don't know if you'll be able to see that, I'll try and add a screenshot, is 59. So I've read 59 books this year. There's a couple of DNFs in there because I thought I'd include them as well. 59 books, so I'm ahead of schedule this year. So I've read quite a bit, and I'm really happy with my overall reading experience. However, I would like to change it from being predominantly about, you know, popular and TikTok viral authors or TikTok viral books. Like, I want to branch out a little bit into books that are not hyped up, are not spoken about, and are not viral. Like, I'm finding my reading experience is being very mediocre, and I see a lot of books obviously from TikTokers and BookTokers, and a lot of the times I personally don't enjoy them. So I'm hoping to branch out a little bit more in the tail end of this year and try and read some books that I just pick up and like the look of or like the synopsis and haven't heard anything about. But anyway, let's get into the questions. I have them written down in a little book over here because I was dying in bed this morning, so I thought I would watch this video back and just get all the questions. First question, best book of the year so far. So I have a few and the first one being Fourth Wing. I honestly didn't expect to like this book as much as I did. I saw obviously all the hype, and there was a lot of discourse because some people really didn't like it and didn't like the writing style and found it kind of cringe, and then the other side of people absolutely loved it, and I thought I was going to be on the side of not really loving it, but I absolutely enjoyed this. It was very thrilling. Yes, the dialogue can be cringy, and the, like, what is it called, like the continuation of things isn't very great. There were elements about it that I didn't like, but ultimately my reading experience was so much fun and I absolutely enjoyed it. I don't have it on hand because I did get it out the library, but the second book I have here is an obvious one, A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. Honestly, I loved this book. I didn't think I was going to enjoy Nesta's side of things. I did like her as a character. She's very fiery, very blunt, but I knew that a lot of people like that. It comes from a place of pain or a place of not fitting in. So I definitely loved her point of view, and I loved her and Cassian together. This was absolutely amazing for the final book in the series. I know there's word about another one coming out, but no one's ever confirmed it, so I'm gonna say it's a complete series until I actually see the book on the shelf. But for now, this was a great end to this series, and honestly, it is a life-changing series for me. It got me into fantasy, and not really got me into fantasy, but it made me love fantasy even more, because I think I read Once Upon a Broken Heart first, and that's very YA, but this was great. I know a lot of people complained about all the smut in it, but it kind of just goes with the characters and the way they deal with their anger and emotions and stuff. So I thought it was well placed in my opinion. Then the last book I have on here, I know it says one book, but I have three. So the next one is Belladonna by Adeline Grace. Sorry, I just got a call from my husband, but I was saying Belladonna by Adeline Grace. Oh my gosh, this book surprised me so much because again, I heard so much discourse about it, and some people absolutely loved it, and some people didn't like the personification of death and thought that that was weird, but I loved it. It was dark, it was eerie, it was amazing, and it evoked some emotions in me that I didn't think it would, especially the way way they spoke about death and how different people deal with death. And death is part of every day and everybody's life. Like, that's one thing every single person has in common, is grief and death. And just the way it was depicted in this book absolutely spoke to me, and especially with the darker elements of it. I love dark elements like hauntings and stuff like that. I absolutely thrive on that. So this played right into my hand and I was so happy. And again, another 5-star, which shocked me. For real, it did shock me. So stoked about that. The next question, or question number 2, is the best sequel I read this year. So this was actually a reread, but I couldn't think of any other sequels that I read recently. I'm usually on like the 3rd or 4th book by this time of the year. So the only one I really loved, and upon the second time reading it as well, was Reckless by Lauren Roberts. Oh my gosh, I love this book. And again, so many people trash this book because it has middle book syndrome and all of that. I loved it. The cat and mouse like dynamic between Paden and Kai was amazing. I found the banter hilarious. I loved the journey they went on. It established a really solid bond between them, and even though nothing really happened plot-wise in this book except for the ending, it still made me sympathize with them and root for them. So I thought it was a great book. It was only a 4.5. That is still really high for a book rating. So this is definitely the best sequel I read this year. But like I said, it is the only sequel I probably read this year. So really good. And this is the first book that came to mind. Worst books of the year. I don't have the one book with me and the other one I left behind. But anyway, I'll put pictures up. So the first one being The American Roommate Experiment. I've spoken about this many times now in my wrap-ups, in a few videos. This book was horrible. It was boring. It was cringy. It gave me secondhand embarrassment. It took ages to get into the story, and it was a freaking romance book. Like, surely we should know what was happening already, and I just found it cringe. I DNF'd it at I think 160 pages, around there, but I just couldn't. I tried to force myself to read more, but I literally just, I couldn't fathom going on another second because it was really irritating me. The second book I have is Things Bright and Beautiful by Anbara Salam. This one I really like the cover, firstly, and secondly, I'm trying to read from more authors that I haven't really heard about. I think this was her debut novel, if I'm not mistaken, but it was horrible again. I didn't like the use of language. They were in another country. I think it was like an island off the coast of New Zealand or Australia called Ascension Island. I think that's Australia. It was just, yeah, I didn't like it. The aspect of religion and the way it was spoken about, for me, it just didn't sit very well. And it was, I think, in the 1950s or 60s, around there, the way the male, who was a missionary, the way he treated his wife, because he's a man of God and women need to know their place. And I only got 30 pages in and I got all of that from that little bit of reading time, and it just wasn't for me. And unfortunately, I had to DNF it, but literally it gave me the ick and I couldn't keep reading. Question number 4 is a new release that you want to read but haven't read yet, and that for me is Conditions of Will. So I am dying to read this. However, I haven't finished the Magnolia Parks series yet. Not yet, but I definitely plan to. So the Conditions of Will, I'm curious. I'm very curious because so far I'm very conflicted about Jessa Hastings' writing. Some of them I love, like I love the Magnolia Parks side of things, but I really do not like the Daisy side of things. Like, I just hate that they have the footnotes at the bottom and it throws me out of the story, and it just feels like there's a disconnect. With the Conditions of Will, the main character Georgia, she is in one of the other Magnolia Parks books. I think it was Into the Dark. No, I lie. It's The Long Way Home, and I just recently read that, so it's still quite fresh in my mind. However, the reason why I haven't read it is because this book is astronomically priced at the moment. I went onto Amazon, it was like 750 Rand. With 750 Rand, I can buy like 3 normal books that are not new releases, or I could buy like 5 or 6 books on the sales rack. So I can't justify paying that amount of money for a new release. So I will probably just wait and hold off on that. I'm dying to read it. It sounds really interesting, and everybody I've seen review it has absolutely loved it. I haven't seen one person say anything bad about it yet. So I'm very curious, and it's definitely on my list to read. Question number 5 is the most anticipated read for the second half of the year. I only have one here. I haven't really kept up with new releases, to be honest. Like, a lot of them that I wanted to read have already been published. So at the tail end of the year, there's only one for me, and that is A Vow of Embers, and this is the sequel to A Tribute of Fire, which I absolutely loved. I actually listened to it on audiobook, but it was great. The concept of this fantasy world, it just was so different from anything else I read, and the main character was so strong and so resilient, and I love that. I love that. I hate naive female characters. This one just, I enjoyed every single bit of it. I gave it a 4.5, but I'm still really, really excited for A Vow of Embers. I think it's going to be amazing. I did see that Emmy, she got an ARC copy either in the beginning of the year or the end of last year, and she absolutely loved both of them. So I'm very, very excited to see where the story goes. Question number 6, my biggest disappointment for the year, and that would be, you can't really see it because I changed the dust jacket around, but it's Fearless by Lauren Roberts. I was so excited after, like I said, Reckless did things to me. This book was so disappointing. It really didn't go in the direction that I wanted it to, and it felt like things were added in the book to keep you motivated, keep you enticed, and I guess extend the length of the book, but I feel like it wasn't necessary. This is a little bit of a spoiler, so if you haven't read it, just skip to the next question, but there was more trials in this book, which I really didn't feel were necessary. They were lame, they were silly, and I don't know, the dynamic between Peyton and Kai obviously changed because of the end of Reckless, but it was just drawn out too long. Then we got a new character point of view, and I felt like that was completely unnecessary again. He didn't need a redemption arc. He was who he was. No explanation could actually explain his actions, so I just felt it was lame. And then at the end, I feel like we didn't get all the answers that we wanted to. We got like a little bit of a happy ending, but what about the state of the world now? What about the stance on like ordinaries? Like, it didn't tell us if anything had actually changed in society. I didn't love that. I know there is another novella coming out, which I will probably read, hopefully, so that I can get some answers, but all in all, I just felt like, if anything, this book had middle book syndrome, because it didn't sum anything up for me. And then we have question number, which is the book that surprised me the most, and it might surprise you guys as well, but I do have 2 in this anyway. The Long Way Home, well, Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home. I didn't think I would like this, especially because of the length of it. I was like, what more could they add to the story? But this book, oh my gosh, it really explained Magnolia and BJ's behavior and why they were like they were. It dealt with a lot of grief and depression and eating disorders, and it was all things that at some point in your life you experience, and the way they dealt with it, yes, was different from most people's reactions to situations like this, but honestly, it made my heart break for Magnolia and BJ, and what led them to all these things. Like, it makes sense in my head, and the ending, it completely shattered my heart. It shattered my heart, and yeah, I have a book haul coming up very soon, and I did buy the last book in the series, but I'm actually not looking forward to the next Daisy book because I just want to get into the next Magnolia book. But this book surprised me so much. I really didn't expect all these emotions to come to the surface while reading this. I did think that they're both just very frivolous and vapid, but I was wrong. I definitely was wrong. The next book that surprised me, The Writing Retreat. Every single person I saw read this book didn't like it. I thought it was amazing. I thought it was very thrilling. I loved the concept of it. Far-fetched, but that's what I want with escapism. I want prospects that are not even remotely real, but are so freaky that they could be real. Like, oh my gosh. So I do have a full reading vlog on most of these books, so do go watch those if you want to see my opinion. But I was really, really surprised. Yes, it was a 4-star, probably is a 4.5 as well, though I think about it quite often. Reading about people who like books or writers or anything like that is actually really interesting as a reader myself. So I connected with this book, and I thought it was great. The twist, it got me, but I knew obviously something funny was going on the whole time, but ultimately this was great. This was an amazing book, and I 100% would recommend it. Question number 8 is my newest favorite author of the year, and honestly, I would say is Adeline Grace so far. Like, obviously I've only read one book from her, but honestly, I thought it was amazing. The rest of the authors I've already read mostly from. So Julia Bartz with The Writing Retreat, I haven't read anything else, and I'm not sure if thriller is like my favorite genre, so I couldn't say her, but Belladonna was amazing, like I said, and Adeline Grace did a great job with her descriptions and all of that, and just the scenery. It was amazing. amazing, amazing. And this year I've mostly read like continuations of series, or I did try a couple of new authors, but I wouldn't put them at the top of my list. So definitely Adele and Grace for now. And then we have question number 9, which I usually don't include in because I wouldn't say I fall in love with characters. They're fictional. So in my mind, I don't imagine like, oh, if my boyfriend was like that, I have a great husband. So I don't fantasize like that. And yeah, I'm just not that type of person. I'm a realist. Anyway, that's why I like to read escapism. But newest favorite fictional crush. This is very recent and I actually listened to this on audiobook, and it is William Weston from The Paradise Problem. I loved his character. I thought he was just everything. I guess he's very similar to my husband. Very like nonchalant, and things don't bother him until they do bother him. And I just loved his dynamic with the main female character. And then the other one, I hate saying this, I'm a Harry Potter stan. I love Harry Potter so much. But I read Manacled, and Draco, his character in that book actually made me think differently. I know it's fan fiction and it's very different from the Harry Potter series, but it felt like that could be a viable thing. I fell in love with his character. I thought it was absolutely amazing the way the book was written. Even though it's like 950 pages, I found it very, very convincing. Then I have a newest favorite character, and that is Anna Green from The Paradise Problem. She is the funniest female character I've ever read. I found myself laughing constantly. Her banter, she doesn't have a filter. She'll just say anything that comes to mind, and I absolutely loved that. She was hilarious, and she actually made the book, but her dynamic with William Weston, it did so well. It did so well, and I loved her. I loved her so much. And then I have Signa from Belladonna. So this woman's been through so much in her life, but she's still so humble and so kind, and the worst of the worst things have happened to her, and she could have become super bitter and nasty, but she just wasn't. And I absolutely loved that. She was strong from the beginning till the end. Even though life threw everything at her, she persevered, and I love that in a character. Another one I don't really like to answer is my favorite book couples, but yeah, I kind of have a couple. So the first is in Watch Me. I really like James and Rosabelle. I thought that was very, very cute. Obviously, we don't know where the relationship is going right now, because obviously we're waiting for the next book. But from what I read, I absolutely love their dynamic again. Like, she is like the grumpy and he is the sunshine. So it was reversed, which I don't read quite often. So yeah, I really, really love them, and I can't wait to see where the rest of the series goes. And then again, we have Weston and Anna, because absolutely love their dynamic. Question number 12 is a book that made me cry. So that would be Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home. The ending of this book had me sobbing, but then a couple of events that happened or that were explained again during the book, some of which I've experienced myself, made me absolutely sob. And I started reading this book on honeymoon, and I was crying on the airplane. I was crying in the bath when I started it. Like, it was so sad. And yeah, it was one of those that made me cry. And then the book that made me the happiest, again, Paradise Problem. Oh my gosh, it was so funny. I literally was grocery shopping while I was listening to the audiobook, and honestly, I was giggling and kicking my feet in the middle of the shops, but it was so funny. It was literally hilarious. It was like an old school rom-com. Honestly, it was so funny, and the circumstances are very far-fetched, but it was just hilarious. Then the last question is books I still want to get to this year. So this is not all of them, but these are my highest priority. So I'm just going to rapid fire through them so that this video isn't very, very long. First one I have on the list is Legendary by Stephanie Garber, These Infinite Threads by Tahara Mafi, Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas, Foxglove by Adele and Grace, Anatomy, a Love Story by Donna Schwartz. I said that weird, Donna Schwartz. Ooh, just this cover alone makes me want to read that. Scarlet by Marissa Meyer, The Record Keeper by Agnes Gomillion, The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon, These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong, and lastly, Alone in the Ether by Olivia Blake. So all of these books are on my highest priority for the remainder of the year, but I do have some others obviously obviously on my physical TBR. I'm on a book buying ban since I think I want to say March, yeah, and we're already in June. So I do, like I said, have a book haul because I got a few books for my birthday. My birthday is on the 19th of June. So yeah, I got a few books for that, but I am not physically buying myself any books until I finish my physical TBR. So there are still a few books on there. I also do have my Kindle. That is it. That is everything. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and pop me a comment on what you think about this video, as well as what books you are looking forward to for the remainder of the year. But with that being said, I'm going to put myself to bed because I am feeling horrible, but I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.